A very good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'll be explaining estimation of iron in the given hematite ore solution by external indicator method. So the aim of this experiment is to calculate percentage of iron in hematite by external indicator method. Before we discuss what is external indicator method, let me see why we have to calculate percentage of iron in hematite. What is hematite? Hematite, it is an important ore of iron that consists of nearly 60 to 70 percentage of iron in it. So what is hematite? It is an iron ore. What is ore? Ore is a naturally occurring mineral from which metal is extracted economically. So what is ore? Ore is a mineral from which metal is extracted economically. What ore consists of? Metals in the form of metallic compounds. Hematite is also an important ore of iron that consists of iron in the form of oxide. So what is the chemical formula of hematite? It is ferric oxide, which also consists of silica. So hematite is called as an ore of iron because it is an important source of iron, which consists of iron in the form of oxide, that is ferric oxide. Along with ferric oxide, it also consists of silica. But why hematite is called as important ore of iron? Because it consists of nearly 60 to 70 percentage of iron. Okay, therefore it is considered to be an important ore of iron as it consists of 60 to 70 percentage of iron in it. There are also some other iron ores that are naturally available, such as magnetite, Fe3O4, siderite, ferrous carbonate, limonite, ferric oxyhydroxide, chromite, iron chromate, iron pyrite, that is ferrous sulfide. So what are the other important iron ores that are also available in nature? Magnetite, siderite, limonite, chromite, iron pyrite. Iron pyrite, which is also known as fool's gold. So these are the various iron ores that are available in nature. But which is the chief ore of iron? That is hematite. So why it is considered to be chief ore of iron? Because it consists of 60 to 70 percentage of iron in it. So what is the chemical formula of hematite? It is ferric oxide and also consists of silica. Now, the percentage of iron in hematite is determined by external indicator, by using external indicator, and therefore the method used here is external indicator method. Let me discuss what is this external indicator and how external indicator can be used in a titration. So there are three types of indicators that are used in titrations, and they are classified as internal indicator, external indicator, and self indicator. So these three are the types of indicators that are used in titrations: internal indicator, external indicator, self indicator. So normally we use internal indicators. In most of the titrations we use internal indicators. Okay, so internal indicators are those indicators which are added directly into the conical flask during the determination of endpoint. So internal indicators are those indicators which can be directly added into the conical flask during the determination of endpoint. And the commonly used internal indicators are phenolphthalein, methyl orange. Also you can consider erythrochrome black tea, pattern and readers, starch. So these are the internal indicators which are used in titrations that are added into the conical flask. Titration can also be carried out by external indicator. External indicator means the indicator which should be added externally or which should be used externally. That means this is the indicator which should not be added into the conical flask. It should be used externally and the endpoint of the titration should be determined externally. The commonly used external indicator is potassium ferric cyanide. Potassium ferric cyanide, which is a coordination compound, and the formula is K3FeCN6, potassium ferric cyanide. So this is a commonly used external indicator, and the same indicator is used in estimation of iron also. There is also one more type of indicator which is called as self indicator. So self indicator means we don't add any internal indicator or external indicator. The standard solution which is taken in the burette itself acts as an indicator, and this is called as self indicator, and the common example of self indicator is potassium permanganate. Okay, so there are three types of indicators that are used in titrations, and in the estimation of iron, what type of indicator is used? External indicator, and the example of external indicator is potassium ferric cyanide. Okay, now let me discuss how iron is estimated by using this external indicator. So before I just go through the procedure, so just I want to tell you how ore solution is prepared. So in order to estimate iron in hematite, first we need to prepare iron ore solution or hematite ore solution in order to dissolve the hematite ore. So this part of the procedure is not there for your experiment, but just to know how ore solution is prepared, so I have given a brief procedure here. So ore solution, that is iron ore solution or hematite ore solution, is prepared by taking W gram of ore powder in concentrated HCl. Okay, we have to take a known weight of ore powder which is dissolved in concentrated HCl, and then the reaction mixture is filtered. Okay, the reaction mixture is filtered. The reaction mixture is filtered. During filtration, silica is removed. Okay, during filtration, silica is removed. The filtrate which is obtained is further diluted up to 1000 cc to get 1 liter of iron ore solution. You take W gram of ore powder, treat it with concentrated HCl. The reaction mixture is filtered off. The filtrate is further diluted up to 1 liter to get 1 liter of iron ore solution. Now you see the reaction. Okay. So if you see the reaction, you will get to know how iron ore is dissolved in HCl. What iron ore consists of? Ferric oxide. So this ferric oxide reacts with HCl and gets dissolved in the form of ferric chloride with water as a byproduct. So since silica doesn't react with HCl, it remains undissolved. This undissolved silica is further removed through filtration. So now what you can say, iron ore solution is prepared by dissolving in concentrated HCl so that ferric oxide which is present in ore powder gets dissolved in the form of ferric chloride. Okay, so just see the oxidation state. What is the oxidation state here? +3. Here what is the oxidation state? +3. So ferric oxide becomes ferric chloride. Now what is left in the iron ore solution? Iron in the form of ferric chloride. Okay. Now using this iron ore solution, we are going to estimate percentage of iron. Okay. Now we move to the procedure part. Okay. So this is the procedure part which I have written for your reference. Okay. You can just refer this slide. So just I have mentioned what is the first part of the procedure, what is the second part of the procedure. Of course, in this experiment, first part of the procedure is preparation of standard solution. So to estimate iron, the standard solution used is potassium dichromate. Okay, so potassium dichromate is a standard solution used in estimation of iron. So this potassium dichromate can be directly dissolved in distilled water. So what you can do, take a known weight of potassium dichromate crystals, dissolve in distilled water, and then make up to 250 cc in standard flask. So this is similar to your first and second experiments. Okay, so preparation of standard solution. So why K2Cr2O7 is used? So K2Cr2O7 is used as a standard solution because K2Cr2O7 is used as a standard solution because it is a strong oxidizing agent in acidic medium. Okay, so which is a standard solution used? Potassium dichromate, which is a good oxidizing agent in acidic medium. So that is a standard solution used in estimation of iron. So potassium dichromate solution can be directly prepared in distilled water. Okay. And the second part of the procedure is estimation of iron. So just I have mentioned here what should be taken in burette, what should be taken in conical flask, and what is the indicator used and what is the endpoint of the titration. Okay, you can refer this slide later. Now I'll directly move to the titration part. Okay. So this titration, it is quite lengthy and also it is quite confusing. So I have given you a pictorial representation just to make you to understand how titration has to be performed by using external indicator. Okay. Now what should be taken in a burette? Standard solution. Which is a standard solution used here? K2Cr2O7. As I already mentioned, K2Cr2O7 is a strong oxidizing agent in acidic medium. So fill the burette with the prepared K2Cr2O7 solution. Then take a clean conical flask. Let me discuss what are the reagents that should be taken in conical flask. So first you need to pipette out 25 cc of iron ore solution Okay, you need to pipette out 25 cc of iron ore solution. What this iron ore solution consists of? Ferric chloride. So pipette out 25 cc of iron ore solution which is given to you. This iron ore solution is a yellow colored solution due to the presence of ferric ions in the form of ferric chloride. Okay, you need to pipette out 25 cc of iron ore solution to the clean conical flask. So iron ore solution is yellow colored clear solution which consists of ferric ions in the form of ferric chloride. Okay, it consists of ferric ions in the form of ferric chloride, to which you should add 1/4 test tube of concentrated HCl. Okay, you need to add 1/4 test tube of concentrated HCl. So concentrated HCl is added to maintain acidic medium. Okay, it is added to maintain strong acidic medium because I already mentioned K2Cr2O7 is a strong oxidizing agent in acidic medium. So this K2Cr2O7 can effectively work in acidic medium. Therefore, you should add concentrated HCl, okay, to the ore solution. After adding concentrated HCl, keep the conical flask on the hot plate. Keep the conical flask on the hot plate and heat the reaction mixture nearly to boiling. Okay, don't boil it, just you have to heat it nearly to boiling until you see a bubble. Okay, now after heating the solution nearly to boiling, take out the conical flask from the hot plate and start adding a reagent that is stannous chloride. So start adding a reagent that is stannous chloride SnCl2, which should be added carefully drop by drop to the hot solution. Okay, so to the ore solution along with HCl, after the reaction mixture is heated to the hot solution, you should add stannous chloride drop by drop carefully until the color changes to colorless. Because your ore solution is yellow in color, but after adding stannous chloride, the color of the solution should be colorless, and stannous chloride should be added drop by drop carefully. Okay, we should be added to the hot solution till the color changes to colorless. So stannous chloride should be added in hot condition only. Therefore, before adding stannous chloride, the reaction mixture is heated. To understand the reaction, just you follow this first reaction which I have written here. So what your ore solution consists of? Ferric chloride. So only it is yellow in color. But when this ferric chloride is treated with stannous chloride, SnCl2, okay, in hot condition, this stannous chloride is a reducing agent. Okay, so stannous chloride is a reducing agent in hot condition, which reduces ferric ions into ferrous ions, forming ferrous chloride. And being a reducing agent, it itself undergoes oxidation, forming stannous chloride. Stannic chloride. So what type of reaction it is? A redox reaction. Ferric ions are reduced to ferrous and stannous ions are oxidized to stannic. Since the ferric chloride is reduced to ferrous chloride, the color changes from yellow to colorless. So colorless indicates what? All ferric ions are reduced to ferrous ions. Okay. So all ferric ions are reduced to ferrous ions by adding a strong reducing agent that is stannous chloride in hot condition. Okay. So what is the role of stannous chloride? It is a reducing agent which is added to reduce ferric ions into ferrous ions. Then how we can ensure that all ferric ions are reduced to ferrous? By colorless solution. Then why it is required to reduce ferric ions into ferrous ions? So just follow the reaction what I have written. So potassium dichromate is a strong oxidizing agent. So if ferric ions present in the ore solution are treated with K2Cr2O7, K2Cr2O7 will not react with ferric ions because ferric ions cannot be oxidized further. Okay, because Fe in +4 state is not stable, it is not possible, right? Therefore, ferric ions cannot be oxidized further. Hence, ferric ions do not react with K2Cr2O7. But when ferric ions are when ferric ions are reduced to ferrous ions can easily react with K2Cr2O7 as it can be oxidized to ferric further. So this is the reason why ferric ions are reduced to ferrous ions by adding reducing agent that is stannous chloride in hot condition. Okay, but you should be careful while adding stannous chloride because you are not supposed to add excess of stannous chloride as the excess of stannous chloride may interfere in the reaction. Okay, so after getting colorless solution, okay, it indicates all ferric ions are reduced to ferrous. then you cool the reaction mixture completely to room temperature. Okay. Further, the reaction mixture should be cooled completely to room temperature. And after complete cooling, you are supposed to add one more reagent, that is mercury chloride, HgCl2, that is mercury chloride, which should be added to the cooled solution till the color changes to silky white precipitate. Okay. After cooling the reaction mixture completely to room temperature, you should add mercury chloride to the cold solution till the color changes to silky white precipitate. Okay, let me discuss why this mercury chloride is added. Just follow the second reaction what I have written. Suppose if we added a drop excess of stannous chloride. Okay, while adding stannous chloride, if you added a drop excess of stannous chloride, that excess of stannous chloride should be removed from the reaction mixture. Okay, to remove this reducing agent, we are adding mercury chloride, which is an oxidizing agent in cold condition. So stannous chloride is a reducing agent which can be removed by adding mercury chloride, which is an oxidizing agent in cold condition. Therefore, before adding mercury chloride, you should cool the reaction mixture. Okay. Being an oxidizing agent, this mercury chloride oxidizes stannous to stannic, and mercury chloride itself undergoes reduction and gets reduced to mercurous chloride. Here you see what's the oxidation state of stannous, +2. Here it becomes stannic, that is +4. So it is an oxidation. Mercury chloride, what is the oxidation state here? +1. Sorry, okay, here it is +2, but here it becomes +1. So it is a reduction. Mercury to mercurous, stannous to stannic. So it is a simple redox reaction. So stannous is oxidized to stannic and mercuric is reduced to mercurous, forming a silky white precipitate of mercurous chloride. So formation of white precipitate indicates what? Excess stannous chloride is removed by adding mercuric chloride. So this reaction occurs effectively in cold condition. Therefore, before adding mercury chloride, the reaction mixture should be cooled completely to room temperature. Okay. Now, if you get silky white precipitate at the end, that indicates your reaction mixture is ready for further titration to perform. But sometimes what happens, instead of getting silky white precipitate, you may get black precipitate or gray precipitate, or sometimes you may not get precipitate at all. Okay. So reaction can be continued further if a silky white precipitate is formed. But sometimes what may happen, you may get black or gray precipitate or may not be precipitate at all. So in that case, you should reject this sample and you have to prepare a fresh sample. Then under what condition you may get gray precipitate? So this is possible when you add very much excess of stannous chloride. If you add very much excess of stannous chloride, or if you don't cool the reaction mixture before adding mercury chloride, so then there is a chance of formation of black or gray precipitate. So the mixture has to be discarded. You cannot use it further. So you have to prepare the fresh sample again, okay, which may take another 10 to 15 minutes. Therefore, you have to be very careful while adding stannous chloride, which should be added drop by drop carefully. Okay. So mercury chloride can be added rapidly, okay, till you get silky white precipitate. But stannous chloride should be added very carefully. You should not add very much excess of stannous chloride. This is why, because if your reaction mixture consists of excess of stannous chloride, and if this excess of stannous chloride is not removed from the reaction mixture, it may interfere in the reaction mixture. Let me discuss how the stannous chloride in excess can interfere in the reaction mixture. So as we already discussed, stannous chloride is a reducing agent in hot condition, right? So when the titration is performed, what do we do at the end? So the ferric ions which are formed, okay, the ferric ions which are formed may get reduced back into ferrous by excess stannous chloride if it is still left in the reaction mixture. So if the ferric ions formed in the reaction mixture may get reduced back into ferrous by excess of stannous chloride gradually. As a result, what happens? The ferrous ions concentration becomes very high, which is not equal to the actual amount present. And when these ferrous ions are formed in the reaction mixture, K2Cr2O7 continuously reacts with ferrous ions by oxidizing it to ferric ions. As a result, what happens? More ferrous ions are formed and more volume of K2Cr2O7 will be consumed in the titration, which may give you inaccurate result. Okay. if excess stannous chloride is present in the reaction mixture, the ferric ions which are formed at the end point may get reduced back into ferrous, consuming more volume of K2Cr2O7, which may give you inaccurate result. So to avoid the secondary reaction, you are required to remove this excess stannous chloride by adding mercury chloride. Okay, so this is the procedure part. So I'll just repeat one more time. Take 25 cc of iron ore solution, add 1/4 test tube of concentrated HCl, heat the reaction mixture nearly to boiling, add stannous chloride carefully drop by drop to the hot ore solution till the color changes to colorless. Then cool the reaction mixture completely, add mercury chloride till the color changes to white precipitate. Okay, if gray or black precipitate, reject the sample. Okay, now once the reaction mixture forms silky white precipitate, then your reaction mixture is ready for further titration. Now let me discuss how by using this reaction mixture we can estimate iron by using external indicator. Then how to use this external indicator? So you will be provided with wax paper. Okay, you will be provided with wax paper. Take some drops of indicators on the wax paper as I have shown. So you will be given with wax paper. Take several drops of the indicator on the wax paper. So what is the indicator used here? An external indicator, that is K3FeCN6, which is naturally yellow in color. What is the natural color of the indicator? It is yellow. Now, what your ore solution consists of? Now, ore solution consists of ferrous ions. We started with ferric ions, and these ferric ions are reduced to ferrous ions. Okay, right now, by adding stannous chloride, and this I have already discussed why ferric ions are reduced to ferrous ions. Now at the end, what your ore solution in the conical flask consists of? Ferrous ions. Okay, now you have to perform a titration. So what is taken in standard flask? What is taken in burette? K2Cr2O7, which is a strong oxidizing agent in acidic medium. What your ore solution consists of? Ferrous ions. Now start adding 1 ml of K2Cr2O7 at one stretch. Okay, in the beginning, 1 ml of K2Cr2O7 is added into the conical flask at one stretch. After adding 1 ml of K2Cr2O7, mix the reaction mixture thoroughly. Okay, now when K2Cr2O7 is added, what happens to ferrous ions? So ferrous ions are gradually oxidized to ferric by a strong oxidizing agent, that is K2Cr2O7 in acidic medium. After adding 1 ml of K2Cr2O7, mix the reaction mixture properly. Okay, now this reaction mixture, after it is treated with K2Cr2O7, should be brought in contact with the indicator, which is taken externally. How we can do that? You can do that by using a glass rod. Okay, take a clean washed glass rod, just dip into the solution in the conical flask, just take a tiny drop of the treated reaction mixture and bring the drop of the reaction mixture in contact with the first drop of the indicator, which is taken externally on wax paper. Okay, dip a glass rod, take a tiny drop of the reaction mixture and bring in contact with the first drop of the indicator. Now what is the natural color of the indicator? Yellow, which immediately changes to deep blue color. So the yellow color changes to deep blue color, indicating that the titration is not yet completed. This is why, because if your reaction mixture consists of ferrous ions still left in the solution, these ferrous ions effectively reacts with the potassium ferricyanide indicator, forming ferroferricyanide complex. So when K2Cr2O7 is added, ferrous ions are oxidized to ferric. Okay, if still there are ferrous ions left in the solution which are not completely oxidized to ferric, so these ferrous ions reacts with the external indicator, forming a new complex, that is ferroferricyanide complex. This is ferroferricyanide complex in which the potassium ions are replaced by ferrous ions, forming ferroferricyanide complex, which is known as Turnbull's blue complex. Because of its characteristic blue color, it is known as Prussian blue or Turnbull's blue complex, which is a stable deep blue colored complex. Okay, it is a stable deep blue colored complex. If the indicator changes to blue color, that indicates the ferrous ions are still left in the solution. This indicates what? Further titration has to be continued. Now we already added 1 ml. Now you add extra 1 ml again. So 1 ml we added, again we are adding 1 ml. So total 2 ml of K2Cr2O7 we are going to add. And after adding extra 1 ml, again you mix the reaction mixture thoroughly. Again you withdraw a drop of reaction mixture and bring in contact with the second drop of the indicator. So the second drop may also give you blue color, okay, indicating there are still ferrous ions left in the solution. Again you add 1 ml. Now what is the total volume? We have added 3 ml. Mix the reaction mixture, bring in contact with the third drop of the indicator. Okay, again it may give you blue color, but here you can observe the intensity of blue color is decreasing. Why the intensity of blue color is decreasing? Because for every addition of K2Cr2O7, the concentration of ferrous ions is decreasing and concentration of ferric ions is increasing. Therefore, the color developed by the indicator intensity is decreasing. Okay, now we added 1 ml, that is total 3 ml we added. Now you add 1 more ml, that is 4 ml. Again you repeat the procedure and bring the reaction mixture in contact with the fourth drop of the indicator. Okay, so again it may give you blue color, but here it is somewhat like light blue color. Similarly, if you do continuously, so you may get pale blue color. So when pale blue color is observed, you can imagine that ferrous ions are almost exhausted. That means there is little less amount of ferrous ions still left in the solution. When this pale blue color is observed by the indicator, now instead of adding 1 ml, you can add drop by drop. So add 1 drop of K2Cr2O7 and check the endpoint. It may give you blue color, but it may be pale blue color. Again add 1 drop and check the endpoint by bringing the reaction mixture in contact with the indicator. Again it may give you pale blue color. Again you add 1 more drop. Mix the reaction mixture and bring in contact with the next drop of the indicator, where the indicator doesn't show any blue color. So you can see this. Okay, at the end point, the indicator retains its original color. So what is the original color of the indicator? That is yellow. So when indicator doesn't give you any blue color, that gives you the end point. Okay, that gives you the end point. So this indicates what? At the end point, indicator fails to give blue color. This is why, because all ferrous ions are completely oxidized to ferric. As there is no ferrous ions to react with the indicator, there is no blue color developed by the indicator. Therefore, indicator fails to give blue color. Okay, so in the beginning there are ferrous ions, therefore indicator gives blue color. But when a specific volume of K2Cr2O7 is added, at which all ferrous ions are completely oxidized to ferric, so indicator fails to give blue color. So what is the end point of the titration then? No change in color of the indicator. Okay, no change in color of the indicator, or indicator fails to give blue color. So this is how you can perform titration by using this indicator externally. Okay, in the beginning, why the indicator changes to blue color? Due to the ferrous ions which are not completely oxidized to ferric. And why ferrous ions gives blue color with the indicator? But it forms a stable blue colored complex with potassium ferricyanide, that is ferroferricyanide, which is commercially known as Turnbull's blue complex. Okay, it is a stable blue colored complex that gives you blue color with the indicator. But at the end point, what happens? Indicator fails to give blue color, because at this stage all ferrous ions are completely oxidized to ferric by K2Cr2O7. Okay, so this is how to perform a titration. And once the endpoint is determined, just know what is the volume of K2Cr2O7 consumed in the titration and repeat the procedure. Okay, by preparing this ore solution once again freshly. Okay, this is how you have to perform a titration. Just follow the reactions what I have written. Okay, you will get to know why all these reagents are added and how the titration is performed by using external indicator. And one more important information, so the same experiment can also be carried out by using internal indicator, that is diphenylamine. But just to know how titration to perform by using external indicator, this external indicator is used in this experiment. But what happens if this potassium ferricyanide indicator is used internally? What may happen, whether it is possible to determine the endpoint or not? Okay, suppose if this potassium ferricyanide indicator is used as an internal indicator, so in the beginning, there will be more ferrous ions left in the earth solution. This ferrous ion strongly reacts with potassium ferricyanide indicator, making the whole solution stable blue color. All right, making the whole solution stable blue color. Now, what will be the volume of K2Cr2O7 consumed? The volume of K2Cr2O7 consumed will be very high. Okay. So, since the whole solution becomes deep blue in color and forming a stable complex, the endpoint determination becomes very difficult. Therefore, this potassium ferricyanide indicator is used as an external indicator and endpoint is determined externally. Okay. So, this is how the iron is estimated by using external indicator. Okay. Now I move to the calculation part. Of course, calculation part is almost similar to your previous experiment. Just find out what is normality of K2Cr2O7 because K2Cr2O7 is the standard solution which will be prepared by you. So you should know its normality. So weight of K2Cr2O7 crystals taken into 4 divided by equivalent weight of K2Cr2O7, that is 49. So find out what is the normality of K2Cr2O7 you have prepared. Now, by knowing normality of K2Cr2O7, you have to find out what is the strength or concentration of the iron ore solution. Okay, what is the formula used? Normality of iron ore solution is equal to normality into volume of K2Cr2O7 solution divided by volume of iron solution. So, what is the volume of iron solution taken in each trial? 25 cc. Normality of K2Cr2O7, you have to find out. Volume of K2Cr2O7 is the volume of K2Cr2O7 consumed in the titration, that is concordant burette reading. Find out what is normality of iron solution. Okay, and the next step is find out what is the weight of iron. Weight of iron per liter of ore solution. Here you should take liter of ore solution because you will be given a liter of ore solution. So you are supposed to find out what is the weight of iron per liter of ore solution. Simple formula, normality of iron solution into equivalent weight of iron, that is 55.85, which gives you some A gram of iron. So what A stands for? The weight of iron per liter of ore solution. Now by knowing this A value, you are supposed to calculate percentage of iron if you know the weight of ore taken, right? So weight of ore taken, that is W value, will be given to you because you are not going to prepare ore solution. Ore solution will be given to you. So you will be given what is the weight of ore powder taken in the preparation of ore solution. So by knowing A value, by knowing W value, you can find out the percentage of iron in the given hematite ore using the formula A into 100 by W, where A is the weight of iron per liter, W is the weight of ore powder taken in the preparation of liter of ore solution. So you will get to know what is the percentage of iron. Okay, so this is a simple calculation.